Dore defends those who would say that the government is trying to censor us via social media. But what about private property? Let's talk about it, y'all. Middle America.
What are you people? We're Americans.
We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent, and this is Middle America. And we're not left wing, we're not right wing, we're just right. That's supposedly the phrase. There's a bunch of cutesy little phrases. But on a serious note, I am a evangelical Christian. My wife and I are evangelical Christians. Been Republicans our entire lives. Got exposed to Bernie Sanders, and so I think the term is probably like progressive curious. I guess I don't know. But anyway, check us out in our community, facebook.com/America Middle. You can jump in there and it's a free for all over there. And I was in a debate last night with one of my buddies because he's not a fan of the draconian moves, he says, that Facebook takes. And my position has always been, what's up, James? What's up, Joe? My position has always been, well, it's a private company, and I don't want the government telling people what they can do in their private company. So we had a debate back and forth. And then he sent me this clip, and he said, don't watch it, just review it on your show. So that being the case, here we go. This is Jimmy Dore talking about, I think it's White House orders censorship of social media. Let's go.
So let's talk about the censorship that is happening is real. So Jen Psaki is... What's going on?
See, I have a problem with the term censorship in the First Amendment sense because this is a private company. These are private companies. Facebook, Twitter, even YouTube. These are private companies that allow you to be on their platform. And my position is I don't have the right to their platform. All of our videos on Middle America have been, well, they're not okay. So if there's a little slash, that means it's completely not monetized. And then there's a yellow dollar sign, which means it's partially demonetized. And a green dollar sign means that you get the full ad revenue out of it. 95% of the videos in Middle America are yellowed. A couple of them are completely blacked out, and some of them have been removed. But my position has always been, well, it's not my platform, so it is what it is. But so I don't see that as violating the First Amendment because this is a private company making private decisions. This is not the government coming in and monitoring or whatever. So that's a difference in my mind.
Right now is crazy. This is when I grew up. This is the opposite of what our country was supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about freedom of speech and the First Amendment, and that's what made us better than other countries, is our freedom and our liberty. And now it's like everybody, it's like, oh no, we got to have, everybody's just like, yeah, censorship. Everybody, you got to have it. Here's Jen Psaki.
Well, I'm not a fan of censorship, but again, it's government-imposed censorship, I think, is what I'm worried about.
Watch
with these social media platforms, and those engagements typically happen through members of our senior staff, but also members of our COVID-19 team.
So their COVID-19 team is perusing Facebook for misinformation. That instead of working on COVID,
whoa,
that's what they're doing. That's what it sounds like to me. Here we go. It's like, oh no, we got.
I got to hear that again.
It's like, yeah, censorship. Everybody, you got to have it. Here's Jen Psaki.
I got to hear that part again.
Watch with these social media platforms, and those engagements typically happen through members of our senior staff, but also members of our COVID-19 team.
So their COVID-19 team is perusing Facebook for misinformation. That instead of working on COVID, that's what they're doing.
Okay, that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not really a fan of agents of the government monitoring people's. I'm a little bit uncomfortable about that. I will say I'm a little bit uncomfortable about that. We continue.
That's what it sounds like to me. Here we go.
Dr. Murthy conveyed, this is a big issue of misinformation, specifically on the pandemic. In terms of actions, Alex, that we have taken, or we're working to take, I should say, from the federal government, we've increased disinformation research and tracking within the Surgeon General's office.
I got to stop and say, what's up, Aya? Aya and Ja. What's up? Good to see you.
We're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread disinformation. We're working with doctors and medical professionals to connect to connected medical experts with popular who are popular with their audiences with accurate information and boost trusted content. So we're helping get trusted content out there. We also created the COVID Community Corps to get
Hold on, guys. I got to rewind that again.
And to say from the federal government, we've increased disinformation research.
We Are King said, you just said you don't have a problem with censorship, but now, well, again, I want to make the dichotomy, right? There's a difference between government-imposed censorship and private companies saying, we do not allow X, Y, Z. So, for example, if I had an LGBT, social media platform, and somebody came in saying, F this, queer that, blah, 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 I can say, okay, you're out. And I don't think that that's a imposition against free speech. So that's my situation is I don't want a situation where the government comes in and tells that LGBT group, no, you have to allow that Nazi in your platform because free speech. Where it crosses the line to a free speech issue for me is when the government gets involved. It looks like she's talking about in a consulting role right now, but I'm not a fan. That's making me uneasy, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. It's making me a little bit uneasy. Maestro says, yes, but Twitter and Facebook are like public utilities at this point. I don't know. I'm going to have to chew on that. We continue.
Tracking within the Surgeon General's office. We're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread disinformation. We're working with doctors and medical professionals to connect to.
Okay, so now the government is monitoring and flagging problematic posts for Facebook.
Connected medical experts with popular who are popular with their audiences with accurate information and boost trusted content. So we're helping get trusted content out there. We also created the COVID Community Corps to get factual information into the hands of local messengers. And we're also investing, as you all have seen, in the president's, the vice president's, and Dr. Fauci's time in meeting with.
Nathaniel says, how much money do they get from the government? FBI and Twitter, lots. It's a platform for speech. It should be protected. We have laws. Nathaniel, do me a favor, and can you get me that a source for the government? Because you guys know the government has never paid anybody anything, right? That's our money. So can you get me a source, Nathaniel, that buttresses that? And Jilly is right. She did say tracking. Jilly, good catch. Jilly 101 said tracking. That's a problem for me. That type of language is problematic to me. And I'm glad you caught that, Jackie, because Jilly, sorry. That was the same thing that was kind of making me uncomfortable. We continue.
So that's what they're spending their time doing. They're perusing Facebook and regular people posting stuff about COVID. That's so, and they're coordinating it. And they're telling Facebook what to take down or what not to. Well, here's what Glenn Greenwald says.
Right, Tasco. Tasco's right. Trusted sources because they've been so accurate about the pandemic so far. Yeah, like who are these trusted sources? And then who decides what a trusted source is? And then what are the I don't know, guys. This is a little bit I don't know.
That the Biden administration is telling Facebook which posts it regards as problematic so that Facebook can remove them. This is the union of corporate and state power, one of the classic hallmarks of fascism. That the people who spent 5 years babbling about fascism now support.
I gotta say that I'm kicking myself because when it was confirmed that Biden was going to be the president, I was going to shoot a video entitled "The Fascism of the Obama Administration." You guys do know Edward Snowden happened under the Obama administration. Mr. Obama was not very friendly to Mr. Assange. And then, of course, there was the Verizon scandal where Obama's group basically forced Verizon to hand over all their a bunch of their data of their customers. All these fascistic moves that Mr. Obama did, including the killing of a United States citizen, Mr. Anwar al-Awlaki, without trial, and then his 16-year-old son, Abdul Rahman, without trial. Well, the Obama administration was massively fascistic at times and played fast and loose with our liberties. And it's very, very interesting to me that word was popularized and repeated ad nauseum, ad infinitum during the Trump administration. But now we've got these fascistic sort of power grabs and fascistic sort of monitoring of speech. And I'm not hearing that anymore. Obama screwed with the NSA as well. He was a dumbass. Well, the thing about Obama is that he was very slick. Obama was extremely slick about how he did things. He was very smooth. Here's Amr. You can't promote misinformation that's a danger to public health. Yeah, Amr, I understand. Yeah, Amr. But the problem is that Fauci did, right? Fauci said, you guys don't need to be wearing masks, right? But then later on, he basically said, I lied. I just did that so that you guys could have, whatever. Right? Like, I just did that because I wanted to make sure the healthcare officials had masks before regular people. So he lied. The media lied about the Russian nonsense. Rachel Maddow lied about the Russian nonsense. She didn't get canceled or monitored by the government. Why is it okay for Rachel Maddow to get out there and lie to us for 4 years in a row, talking about everything from being frozen out in Fargo to, this supposed tape with Trump and prostitutes? Why was she able to lie for 4 years unscathed? But a regular Joe on Facebook who has a different opinion on how to deal with COVID gets shut down by the government? I don't know, bro. I don't know.
So in order to fight fascism, they're using fascism. So that's the whole thing. We got to fight Trump and the Trumpers and misinformation. And how do you do that? Censorship, corporate and state power combined. It's nuts what's going on. There's about 12 people that are producing 65% of anti-vax information, and they remain active on Facebook, according to Facebook. So here, let's listen to her. Jen Psaki has suggested that people spreading misinformation be banned from all other platforms if they're banned from one. Here we go.
Hold on. When Fauci said that in a time when COVID wasn't fully understood, he didn't lie. This is what we do as scientists making decisions with the available info. No, Amr, he admitted he lied. He said that he had said that earlier because he wanted to make sure that the healthcare workers had enough masks, and he didn't want the public to use them because he was afraid they were going to be used up. That's what he said, Yammer. So no, this is not just a mistake that scientists make. He explicitly stated that he said that for that reason. So he absolutely lied. He gave misinformation, and people probably died over that shit. And he's got no consequences so far. So I don't understand what you're saying, bro. What are you saying?
Of the steps that we have, that could be constructive for the public health of the country are providing for Facebook or other platforms to measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform and the audience it's reaching. Also with the public, with all of you, to create robust enforcement strategies that bridge their properties and provide transparency about rules. You shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others if you for providing misinformation out there. Taking faster action against harm.
Whoa. So we just let the hoarders buy them all up type shit for the nurses? No, Bricktown. It's not for Fauci to lie to us to get us not to do something. That's not his call to make. He doesn't get to speak as an authority and as a singular authority because this was a novel virus that none of us knew about and he's presenting himself as the sole expert. He doesn't get to go in there and then lie to us so that the medical professionals can get some. These people were not hoarding masks. People were hoarding toilet paper, but they weren't hoarding masks. But either way, that's not his call to make. He came out there and lied, and I'm certain people probably died over that shit. So, no, he absolutely lied, and he faced no consequence for it at all. Unbelievable. No, Amr, I will show you the video later because maybe you didn't see the video where he explained why he said what he said. He absolutely lied. And I have no idea why you're defending that. Fauci, I mean, I'll shoot another video about Fauci. For all intents and purposes, Fauci's probably the reason that we're in this situation in the first place, but we continue. Okay, so now here's Chuck. Blame Fauci, but don't blame Trump the jackass. Well, listen, I give all politicians, whether it's Nancy Pelosi showing up in New York and telling everybody to go to Chinatown, whether it's Cuomo, who was the head of, he's a governor in New York, and we all saw what Cuomo did. This idea that we're going to lay all of this at Trump's feet is not a solid argument in my mind, because Pelosi and all these other folks, remember, Pelosi was against the travel ban initially. Pelosi and Cuomo and those guys were calling it xenophobic while they were all safely cloistered where they were with Pelosi and her, $12,000 fridge. They were completely safe. But then they were going out in press conferences telling everybody to go to China and hug Asian people. Chinatown and hug Asian people. That literally happened. So I don't blame Pelosi or Trump for how they initially reacted to Corona. I do blame Fauci, though, because this is what he's done all his life, and he explicitly came out and lied to us. That's a problem, right? So the president, yeah, he operates at the federal level, but we're the United States, right? We're a collection of states. That's the idea. And so there's a sense in which Cuomo is much more responsible for what happens in New York than Mr. Trump. So as far as the politician level, everybody gets a pass from me, but Fauci doesn't get a pass. And again, there's no debate about whether he lied. He said he lied, basically. I don't want to get caught up in Fauci because we're talking about the media here.
Posts.
So the shit libs are all for this, right?
Of the country are providing for Facebook or other platforms to measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform and the audience it's reaching. Also with the public, with all of you, to create robust enforcement strategies that bridge their properties and provide transparency about rules. You shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others if you provide.
No, Turner, the buck does not stop with the president in America. That's not true. That's why we have federal and state governments. Right? So let me give you a quick example. So the Buck v. Bell decision at the Supreme Court level states that the government can forcibly sterilize people. So that's at the federal level. Okay? So, I mean, Carrie Buck. And so the Supreme Court decided at the federal level that that is something we can do in America. But at the state level, I think there's been about 35 states that have banned that practice of forcibly sterilizing people. So the way that the federal government and the local government work together is something that we've got to learn more and more and more about, because it'll help us when these folks these folks in the media try to pull the wool over our eyes. We continue.
Misinformation out there, taking faster action against harmful posts.
So the shit.
Okay, I have a serious problem with this. She's talking about robust enforcement, and she's saying taking serious action. This is now the government. I'm not going to say dictating, but this is the government. I'll say it this way: significantly influencing the decisions that Facebook makes in regard to its users, and that is completely about speech. So I'm not, shout out to VC Forever. You guys should follow VC Forever on Twitter, because every morning you see a new picture of Vietnam, which is really, really cool. No, I don't think Trump told people to drink bleach, Truck Turner. And if he did, please send me that link. I'd like to know. Yeah, follow Viet Cong Forever, because he's got really amazing pictures of Vietnam that will do you good. I look for it all the time when I look at Twitter, because it makes me happy. We continue. Yeah. I'm not a fan of Facebook doing this. I'm not a fan of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of these people being consulted to by the federal government. I'm not a fan of that at all.
Are all for this right now. You remember I got in many debates with the Young Turks about censorship. They're for this, right? And lots of people are for this that are in the TYT universe.
Well, I don't know if Jenk and them are for this type of thing. But this is really, 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 really treading a line here. Well, Truck Turner, send me the link. Send me the link, Truck. Where Trump told people to inject bleach. Send me the link. And again, Trump is not around right now, right? The president is Biden. The president isn't Trump. And it's very, very important that we understand that. What fundamentally has changed in your life, in my life, Truck, since Biden became president? The kids are still at the border. Cops are still killing black people. No indictment. What has changed since Trump has left office with Biden? Trump is gone. Now, reporting on Trump may still be pertinent, for example, the CPAC situation, because it gives us a view into what's going to happen in 2024. So in that sense, it's relevant. But for this discussion, it's the Biden White House that is now consulting with a private company to manage the speech of private citizens. That is a major, major issue. Now, again, I'm still holding my line. Facebook and Twitter are private companies, but I'm extremely, extremely pensive here, because I do not like where this is going. We continue.
And guess who else is for it? He says, I'd be down for that. He's good. This guy's Carl Gibson. Who's Carl Gibson? He's impartially favors the oppressor. He's a writer for Really American One, words on CNN, The Guardian, Washington Post, Barron's, Business Insider, Independent, NPR. There it is. He's all for it. The shit libs are all for it. They're not afraid to admit it in public. That's a guy who's apparently his words have appeared in all these places according to his Twitter bio. Impartiality favors the oppressor. He's a writer. He's a writer who's for censorship. What do you...
Now, Ranter Matt is in the group. Ranter Matt is the main admin in the Middle America Facebook page. And I'm saying this, you would think that I would be completely on Jimmy's side right from the jump, because our Facebook page has been heavily monitored and heavily tagged over and over again. And they even, especially around November, December of last year, all of our admins had to manually approve posts because Facebook put us in this, like timeout category or something like that. So if anybody should be angry about Facebook censorship, it should be me. But my perspective was, well, they're a private company, so they can, it's their platform. We're visitors in their house. They can do what they want. And I still hold that position. My problem though is there is a governmental element now to where they're consulting, basically telling Facebook what to do. And then they're talking about more robust punishments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know, man. I don't know. I got a problem with that.
Favors the oppressor, censorship or freedom of speech? What do you think? What do you think favors the oppressor, Mr. Writer? He's all for everything she said. He's down for this. He's everything she says. He's cool with this.
So a couple of the steps that we have, that could be constructive for the public health of the country are providing for Facebook or other platforms to measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform and the audience it's reaching. Also with the public, with all of you, to create robust enforcement strategies that bridge their properties and provide transparent.
Robust enforcement strategies. Enforcement of what? Enforcement of censorship. Robust censorship strategies. That's what. Now,
well, she didn't say robust censorship strategies, but can somebody tell me that's the logical outcome, right? I mean, Jimmy's not quoting her verbatim, but that seems to be the goal. I was in the middle of a free speech situation locally, and it went to the circuit court. We almost went to the Supreme Court. I had 9 states that sponsored our petition to the Supreme Court. And so there's this phrase called chilling speech, CHILLING, right? And so that's where the government doesn't have to explicitly say you can't say this, but if they take actions that will basically result in you not being able to speak, then it's still a violation of the First Amendment, right? So even if there is an attempt to chill your speech, you could still get the government on the First Amendment clauses in regard to free speech. So one example would be if you're outside and you're saying something that the cop doesn't like, the cop says something like, people who get arrested for disorderly conduct end up in the newspaper, right? So that's not an explicit statement of you can't say this, but it is a veiled threat, and the design of the threat is to get you to calm down, quiet down, or not speak. That's called chilling speech. So, and the reason there's a category like that in case law is because government actors are very, very good at getting right to the edge of the line of violating a constitutional statute, and so that puts them in that type of situation. We continue.
The country are providing for Facebook or other platforms to measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform and the audience it's reaching. Also with the public, with all of you, to create robust enforcement strategies that bridge their properties and provide transparent.
Robust enforcement strategies. Enforcement of what? Enforcement of censorship.
That's not good.
Robust censorship strategies. That's what. Not robust enforcement. Enforcement of what?
Valetudo says, I don't agree with you on most issues, but you have 100% of my respect for not blocking anyone's freedom of speech. Yeah, most of the time, if there's an intelligent dissenting opinion, I'll actually pin it. And when I say intelligent, what I mean is just a well-reasoned argument, devoid of ad hominem. I'll pin it because then there's more debates that happen under that, and that's usually where I'm able to see most clearly a position aside from mine. I think I'm in a different kind of situation because I'm coming from the right as a conservative Christian trying to understand the mindset of progressives, so I'm always in a learning posture. And so if you want to learn, obviously the more information the better, right? We continue.
Of censorship. But they know they can't say that.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
This is what I mean by chilling speech, right? Is that she's not going to come out and say, I'm against free speech, but the action itself is intended to result in a chilling of speech, obviously. It's very similar to the, Anna blackmail situation where she didn't technically blackmail him, but she threatened him. But the result of the statement is the same either way, whether you call it, or the intended result of Anna's statement was blackmail, whether was to chill Jimmy's speech, whether you call it blackmail or a threat, the intention was obviously the same. So that's what's happening here. Actually, some person, I'm actually going to be doing an Ask Me Anything kind of like in reverse so I can get progressives to explain stuff to me. But we continue.
They're stopping. They don't say we're using censorship. They're saying we're using robust enforcement to stop misinformation.
Yeah, that's that's kind of like Animal Farm, and it's kind of like Orwell's 1984 when the media would continue to remix the truth, right? So that everything was the opposite of what it actually was.
You're using robust censorship.
About rules. You shouldn't be banned.
Do I think Trump is a Christian? I hope Trump is a Christian. I hope everybody becomes a Christian. Am I confident that he is? Unfortunately, I'm not very confident that he is right now. But, inshallah, God can change anyone. He's changed me, he can change anyone. We continue.
One platform and not others for providing misinformation out there.
What? So so apparently, Mark Zuckerberg or Jack at Twitter, if they have unilateral power over all other social medias.
I mean, I think Maestro said something about it being a public utility, and that is actually very, very intriguing to me as a thought process. But it is kind of troubling to me that literally 2 or 3 people have complete control over the speech of literally, I don't know, close to 1 billion people. Well, I'm specifically talking about Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Yeah, my desire for property ownership and free speech are coming into cross purposes here. I think the biggest difference, though, has to be the fact that the government is heavily involved here. And the crazy thing is, she's coming out and saying this in public. Like they're not even worried about how we're going to interpret this stuff. That's the thing that's unbelievable to me. She's coming out and saying, yeah, we're talking to Facebook and we're telling them what to do on their platform with their users with speech that we're not comfortable with. What?
What if you piss off somebody at Instagram, you're gone from all the other ones. If you piss off somebody at Twitter, you're gone from what is going on?
Don't forget Pinterest.
What is going on? I mean, this idea that you could take away people's printing press. That's what this is, right? So the social media of today is the town square. It's the printing press. And so
okay, so there's that argument. It's the same argument Maestro made. It's the printing press. So Angela says this is precisely why he's against banning Trump. If they will ban a sitting president, it clearly shows that we're all screwed. Angela, I was pro banning Trump. And I think I still am. But I'm very, very... This video is concerning me. And some of the comments that you guys are stating are these are good arguments that I haven't thought through, that I'm going to have to keep thinking through. Chuck Turner, my brother, why are you talking about Trump? We're not in the Trump administration right now. We're in the Biden administration right now, right? So there's no reason for us to talk about Trump right now. What we're talking about here is Joe Biden's office doing something that Trump's office could never do. If Trump went to Zuckerberg and told him who to ban and all the rest of it, Zuckerberg would tell him to kick rocks, and I'm glad for that. But because it's Biden and it's a Democrat, it's somehow acceptable. And I don't know, man. I don't know. This is dangerous to me. This is really, really dangerous to me.
People's printing press.
They did it to the president.
They did it, and everybody cheered it on. And the shit libs on the left cheer this kind of stuff on. You're comfortable with letting the government... So that's this guy. He's comfortable with that. He's down for this. And so Matt Orfalea, who just got censored, says you're comfortable with letting the government determine what is misinformation and then banning people accused of misinformation from all online platforms? Yes. That's your typical Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden voter. That's them. Yes. That's your typical.
No, I'm not good with the government doing that. And before this video, I was saying the government is not doing that. Those are, my perspective on Facebook and Twitter's bans were that these guys are leftists and they hold themselves responsible for Trump winning the presidency because Trump was outspent by Hillary by $1 billion, but he masterfully utilized social media. It cannot be doubted that the use of social media aided Trump exponentially. So my theory was that they blamed themselves for the Trump administration. And so all these actions that they were taking were actions that were taken by their own personal motivations. And whether or not that's right morally, it's their company. They can do that. If that was the reason, that's one thing. But what I'm getting from this woman is that we're consulting with them. And then it makes me say, well, when did this consulting relationship begin? Has Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, have they been consulted with? Were they consulted with during the elections, for example? Now, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. If Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and all those guys were working... if Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter were working with the Democratic Party, that's a massive, massive issue to me. Massive issue. So, Jimmy's really not changing my mind here. It's more this Jen Psaki lady and the arguments in the comment section here. I don't know, guys.
That's your largest online news show, the Young Turks. But the Young Turks would say, they'll say, no, I just want the people I don't like censored, not the people I like, because they don't understand that once you censor, that's it. It's over. Once you set the precedent that you can censor the
okay, AT&T can't stop someone for using their service if they don't like what you say on their lines. Hold on, Sorry's calling me, guys. Give me a second. Hey. What's up? I'm on a video right now. I get the chicken and the fries thing, I guess.
Okay, and I'm gonna pick up some meat to cook for supper. So.
Okay. Salam alaikum. Bye. AT&T can't stop once they're using their service. They don't like what you say on their lines. Is that true? I don't know if that's true or not. I'll have to look. I'm pretty sure the phone company can cancel their relationship anytime they want, right? Like, is that against the law? Does anybody know if that's an actual statute about AT&T? Because I'll tell you this. If that's true, Tasco, then I'll probably change my mind if that's true. I'm not sure that it's true yet. We continue.
You don't like, it's over. Wow. And by the way, anyway, who cares? So he comes back. This guy comes back. He says, if it was an independent panel of experienced journalists making the decision about whether or not an account is spreading disinformation, and if the accused get a chance to make their case before they're banned, then yes, I'd support that. Disinformation is the reason we still have COVID.
Oh, is that?
Imagine thinking that disinformation is the reason we still have COVID.
So people posting on Facebook, that's the reason we still have COVID. It's not that we were sitting on our hands waiting for relief checks, so sick people had to go out and continue to work, even while they had to literally risk their lives to get a check because our government was just sitting on their ass, not sending any relief for people, even though you shut down the entire country and told people not to work. No, it's regular citizens on Facebook. Me with my little piddly channel with like 5 people following it. It's our fault. Disinformation is our fault. It's not Fauci who lied to the entire country about masks. It's not Cuomo who probably took the mask off of some the vaccine and all that stuff from some poor old lady and gave it to his brother. No. It's regular people on Facebook. That's why the pandemic is where it's at. Okay. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I would like to point out, just because the law is made doesn't make it right or moral. Correct. We continue.
Instead of a government completely abandoning its people during a pandemic and not taking care of essential workers. A third of all the people.
By the way. This is I'm dead ass serious when I say this. If you're one of these essential workers that work through all this bullshit, thank you. Because I work from home. I've been blessed to work from home. And the people, I was having a conversation. We did an interview with somebody, and we'll publish that interview soon. But one of the topics we talked about was the resentment that America seems to have for the essential worker. But when our country was held at gunpoint, it was the essential workers that came through for us. So there's that. Every time I see a soldier in an airport or whatever, in spite of the fact that I believe that we're a global empire and that we've caused immense suffering on the planet, I still go out on my way to try to make a soldier or an airwoman or whoever feel welcome. And if you want to talk about risks, essential workers last year fronted more risk than a lot of people I know who are in the armed services. So honestly, I know a lot of people have, it's been trite and all the rest of it. But honestly, if you did that, Reeve Burker is Meals on Wheels guy. Thank you so much, guys. Honestly, seriously, because you guys proved who's really keeping the country afloat. Right? I'm a talking head on a screen. You guys proved that. So thank you for that. We continue.
From COVID died because the government failed to give them health care. We do not have universal health care in the United States, and that is attributed for a third of the deaths of COVID. Isn't that amazing? Is that like around 100,000 people? Hasn't 300,000 people died from COVID? See how many people have died from COVID so
Well, I
far.
was just thinking about Carl Gibson right now. Isn't this phrase disinfo is the reason we still have COVID? Couldn't I just deplatform him because that's just random?
That's random.
That's a random piece
That's
of disinformation that there's no
That's not a
no
fact.
support.
That's not a fact.
Bye, Carl.
See, Steph, like, she plays the background a lot, but Steph is on her shit, bro. I would never want to get in an argument with that woman because I feel like she could just completely undress you in two sentences. It takes me a damn dissertation. You see what she just said? Yeah, so Carl, you should go bye-bye. Right? Like, she called it out. You should go bye-bye then, Carl. Unbelievable.
That's not a fact. Right? That isn't this disinformation. That's why we still have COVID.
I got to call this out, guys. Hispanic high death rates because they were frontline workers working at meat processing plants and everything. Damn, bro. And then they get called all kinds of slurs and all the rest of it. Some of the hardest working demographics in our country get the most disrespect. Very, very interesting.
An independent panel of experienced journalists, like the panel that led us into the Iraq War based on lies, killing 1 million people and
Thank
creating
you.
ISIS.
No.
You mean like that independent panel of journalists?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All y'all, all the media was in on this shit to propagandize us into supporting the Iraq War, which I've said 1 million times. I was sufficiently propagandized and then went around propagandizing figuratively and literally after that. Where's the accountability for those people? And you know, I mean, honestly, not to beat a dead horse here, but where was the media? Where was Google, who owns YouTube, with the Anna Kasparian debacle, where she explicitly lied about Aaron Mate? So you guys are out there policing little people like me, demonetizing little channels like me, which again, you guys have the complete right to, but at the same time, TYT is a prioritized outlet for Google and YouTube. But they're going around spending a bunch of disinformation. And by the way, they have not retracted their statement against Mate. So there's been no penalty for that. As a matter of fact, Google YouTube went into damage control mode for TYT and made sure folks couldn't see all the data about how TYT was hemorrhaging thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers. They went into circle the wagons mode to protect them. Very interesting. Very interesting.
That were at the New York Times and the Washington Post that said that and CNN that said we should go into Iraq, that Saddam has WMDs and you're an idiot if you don't think so. I mean, those kind of independent journalists. And
people died. That's the thing. That's and now here's Amr. Here's Amr. TYT did not violate Google or YouTube's terms and conditions. Amr. They lied. They explicitly lied. And you know how I know that they know they lied? Because they took down the video. Amr, what I'm talking about is, if the standard is we take down disinformation and then we penalize disinformation artists, and again, the lie was specifically about Syria, which was being used by mainstream media and the establishment politicians to justify aggression and getting kinetic in Syria. So you can say that, brother, but the problem is they lied explicitly and there was no accountability for it. Meanwhile, you have these little channels of common people who are getting every post shut down. Every post has something tagged to it. And all these other, little mini groups are getting heavily monitored by Pravda. You know Pravda. Pravda means truth. It's like the propaganda arm. Their terms and conditions, go and convince them to change their tech. No, I don't need to do that, Amr. I don't want TYT to be for anything to happen to TYT necessarily. I'm simply pointing out the inconsistency and the irrationality of the government going after small people with little to no influence, while at the same time turning a blind eye to massively influential groups of people who lie and are trying to lie us into a war. Amr, your posture in regards to TYT is very confusing to me. I don't have a problem with you saying you like them or that you gained a lot of good information from them. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem is they explicitly lied, and it appears that doesn't bother you very much. And so I was just pointing out the fact that Google and YouTube obviously does not feel that they need to apply those rules consistently. So my question is, when Jen Psaki is talking about all robust enforcement of policy and all the rest of it, she's obviously not talking about the elites on social media. She's talking about regular people, and you seem to be okay with it. I'm saying you seem to be okay with that. I'm not, though. I have a serious problem with it. Peer character flying in the air with a red cape and a smile on his face. Okay. Were you saying something else? All right. Well, we'll just leave that there. We continue.
Matt Outfield is making a great point. Exactly right. Glenn Greenwald says, when right before the 2020 election, Twitter banned all links to the New York Post reporting on the Biden archive, and Facebook announced through its lifelong Democrat operatives that it would block the reporting, all based on a CIA lie, and journalists cheered.
Holy shit! Holy shit! When right before the 2020 election, Twitter banned all links to the New York Post reporting on the Biden. Wow. And that's coming from Glenn Greenwald, y'all. Wow. Okay, guys, that's so let me get this straight. Russia supposedly influenced our elections in 2016 by putting, they had those troll farms or whatever. But this right here, suppressing a journalism in the midst of an election season for the son of the premier candidate, that's not election interference at all. Well, no, Truck, I don't believe everything Jimmy says. Jimmy's quoting Glenn Greenwald. Right? This is Glenn Greenwald. This is Glenn Greenwald, who's literally put his life on the line for getting us the truth, and has literally put his freedom on the line and has people close to him die. Yes, this is news to me. If I'd have known this, I'd have reported on it last year. But there was so much shit going on last year that there was so much that I missed, apparently. That's not good at all. That's a problem. Biden has more skeletons in his closet than the Addams family.
Dangers were obvious. So he's pointing out that when they censored actual information that ubiquitously in the United States press right before the 2020 election, they suppressed information about Joe Biden's son and his influence peddling. And journalists all cheered.
Okay, so guys, I gotta stop because somebody talked about Tulsi, and somebody had talked about Tulsi Gabbard, and I Googled it, and here's what we got, and the person who called it out was, yo, man, and this is why I'm doing the show, guys, because there's a lot of shit that I missed, bro. Holy shit! Look at this, guys. Look at this. You want to talk about election meddling? Tulsi Gabbard's $50 million suit against Google is dismissed. Of course it is. The Democratic presidential candidate had accused the tech giant of infringing on her speech when it temporarily suspended her advertising account. Holy shit! A federal judge on Wednesday dismissed a $50 million lawsuit by Tulsi Gabbard, a Democratic presidential candidate, accused Google of infringing on her speech when it briefly suspended her advertising account last year. So this woman is running for the president of the United States of America, and they suspend her advertising campaign. Unbelievable. The judge, Stephen Wilson of the U.S. District Court for the U.S. Central District of California, granted Google's motion to dismiss the lawsuit because the Gabbard campaign had failed to prove that the First Amendment clause that prohibits the government from curbing free speech applied to Google as a private company. Holy shit. Oh my God. Oh my God. Did you guys see what happened? So this woman is running for election. She's running for election, okay, in an election year, and that's when Google decides they're going to not allow her to advertise, and then it gets dismissed because they're a private company, which is literally the argument I made, which in my mind right now I'm on the wrong side of the argument. Holy moly. Oh my God. Now here's Amr. Apparently in America, spreading misinformation isn't as dangerous as the rest of the world deemed it to be. That's why you had January 6th. No, we had January 6th because we had a megalomaniacal person who couldn't let go of power, and that had nothing to do with YouTube or Google. That has to do with a certain kind of mania. But Amr, you're my brother. I'm sorry, but it appears to me that you're a bit biased. I think that your political loyalties have made you a biased person who's not thinking as clearly as you usually do. Okay? I think you're a great dude, but I think that you've been compromised in regards to your ability to exegete properly what's actually going on here. This is not good. Google should not be able to, I don't care we got to do something. Google should not be able to do that. That woman is running for office. And you know what? It seems to me, as regards Tulsi Gabbard, it seems to me that my theory is that they were going to anoint Kamala. They misunderstood how deeply unpopular she was, especially to people of color, and Tulsi got up there and completely cut her throat, right? Like she ended her career. And I think that CNN, because you remember she couldn't get back on CNN after that for a while. They changed the rules of debate and all that. I think that what happened was they never forgave Tulsi for that. Body
of a panel of journalists decide who gets to have free speech and who doesn't.
Unbelievable. And you know what? We actually did an experiment on this because, like we said on Middle America, we were getting censored heavy, and so we did an experiment. I had somebody post on the Russia bounty stuff. You know, the whole that we're talking to the tally that Russians are talking to the tally to assassinate American soldiers, which is a complete lie. I debunked that last year the minute that it came out, because it wasn't hard to debunk. Of course, later on it was quote unquote officially debunked, but that situation was in my wheelhouse. And so if you want to check those out, I'll make a playlist about it. Maybe I'll put it up here somewhere. You can go watch those old ones. But anyway, we did the Russia bounty story and we posted it, and Facebook did nothing. They didn't even tag it as questionable. And then we would post other stuff about Biden and his son or whatever, and they immediately tagged it. So there's definitely a bias there for sure. And my thing is, as long as the bias is coming specifically from Facebook and Facebook alone, fine. But it appears that that's not what's happening here. It seems that there's a confluence with establishment Democrats, the media, and then the political apparatus. It seems like they've got a triangulation to ensure. I mean, and again, how else do you explain anyway? That's true, and we reported on that. Hillary got on and said that Tulsi was working for the Kremlin, which is also misinformation and disinformation. Yeah, Amr, how come Hillary wasn't censored? How come her Facebook, Twitter, Instagram wasn't censored when she blatantly lied and said that Tulsi was a Russian asset? I mean, she literally called her a traitor, accused her of treason. It's completely fallacious. She had nothing to back it up, and yet Twitter, Facebook, etc. didn't ban her. How can you defend that? We continue.
There's a problem with somebody's if someone's breaking a law, there's governmental agencies that are supposed to enforce the law.
Correct.
If last March you encouraged people to wear masks against COVID, the WHO, the CDC, and Fauci cabal said that was disinformation.
Definitely, you need to take a look at Jimmy's video dropped yesterday about Rand Paul versus Fauci. Okay. I'll check it out. I'll check that out. We continue.
I told you that video that Fauci did that. Fauci said shouldn't be.
Okay, Amr, should Hillary have been suspended, yes or no, for that lie about Tulsi Gabbard? This is during an election year. She falsely accused somebody of treason, which I don't know if it still carries the death penalty. But she accused this woman of treason as she's running for office of the President of the United States. True or false? Should Hillary Clinton's account have been suspended for doing that?
Fauci said that. If through 2020,
hold on.
If someone's breaking a law, there's governmental agencies that are supposed to enforce the law.
Okay, you're saying no. So even though she lied, that's the other thing. I forgot about that. She was an active servicewoman of treason. That's correct. You accused an active servicewoman of treason. You're saying that she should not have been banned from Twitter for that. But you're okay with regular citizens being banned from Twitter. I don't know, bro. I think you're off here. I love you, but I think you're off here, bro.
If last March you encouraged people to wear masks against COVID, the WHO, the CDC, and Fauci cabal said that was disinformation.
That's true. So I'm supposed to trust y'all. So you're the same media apparatus that lied me into a war in Iraq. You're the same media apparatus that propped up Fauci as the sole expert here, who then came on and told us not to wear a mask, which certainly resulted in the deaths of Americans. And now you guys get to go on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these other places, and you get to dictate to us what real information is. I don't know, man.
We showed you that video that Fauci did that. Fauci said shouldn't be wearing a mask. Fauci said that. If through 2020 you said it seems possible COVID came from a lab leak, you were banned from social media.
That's true again. And I know that for a fact because two of my folks on Middle America, they're far right people or whatever, and it was only far right people that were doing the lab leak theory at the time. And it's true. They got dropped, they got suspended, and not only did they get suspended, but our channel on Facebook got quarantined again, where all of our admins had to literally over and over again manually approve everything. They made it all. We had to have like a team. I think we're up to there's only 400 people in the Facebook group, and it's Like we had like 7 or 8 admins because they had to manually do that. I'm just telling you the truth. That's exactly what happened. Now here's Amr. Characterizing someone wrongly is different from spreading misinformation to millions of people about how vaccines track and that wearing a mask, yada, yada, yada. No, Amr, because as we've seen, she didn't mischaracterize. See, Amr, you call it mischaracterization. She didn't mischaracterize Tulsi. She deceptively accused her of being treasonous. Unbelievable. No, Amr. You're trying to set yourself up and these fascists as the only trustable sources for information about vaccines, and you're not acknowledging the fact that Fauci lied to us about that. He's extremely shady when it comes to the whole gain of function stuff, that he was behind this stuff, and he's being presented as an authority that we can't question. That's the problem. That's the problem that I'm having here. And again, if that came from Mark Zuckerberg's own personal philosophy, then I'm not a fan of it, but okay, fine. But it's not coming from him. It appears that it's coming from the government, and that is crossing the line, guys. The media's job, and look, this is social media, right? The media's job is not to take marching orders from the government. The media is there to hold the government accountable and make them feel uncomfortable. Even when they're doing the right thing, that's the job of the media. Holy moly.
Who trusts them to be the ministry of truth?
The ministry of truth. Okay, so when I say Pravda, that was I think it was Stalin. He had that media outlet, and it was the ministry of truth. So anyway, we continue.
COVID, not only wrong, Fauci admitted he lied about COVID. We've showed you that videotape a million times, where he said they asked him, "Hey, why did you tell people not to wear masks?" And he said, "Well,
Jilly, do me a favor. If you can source that Johns Hopkins articles that says that the medical industry is responsible for about close to 500,000 deaths, accidental deaths a year, I'd like to check it out." Yeah, I mean, it's looking like that the rich run this country. It's looking like that. Holy moly.
lied because we were afraid that people would go out and buy masks if they knew it would protect them. So we lied and said it wouldn't.
Right. That's unquestionable. That's what he did. That's what he did.
We could have more masks for the people working in hospitals. So they get to decide when they lie to you and when they don't. How could you ever trust anything Anthony Fauci ever...
On another note, don't scream. The video you show isn't loud. Hold on, let me try to turn that up. So I open the volume and then you scream it's too loud. I'm changing the volume lever permanently. My bad, bro. I got to work on, I got this program that can balance out the levels. So we're working on it. We continue.
Again, I don't. And if you do, you're what they call a sucker. Anything Anthony Fauci says right now has to be put up to the most extreme scrutiny.
100%.
We caught him being a pathological liar.
100%.
Not lied once,
100%.
not lied twice, but lied over 3 things that are huge. Here, a reporter asks Joe Biden, "What's your message to platforms like Facebook?" You ready for this? Listen to this.
COVID misinformation. What's your message to platforms like Facebook?
They're killing people. I mean, it really, look, the only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated. And they're killing people.
Oh my God. Wait a second. Joe Biden. Okay, I got to do it, y'all. I got to do it. Joe Biden says that Facebook is killing people. Oh my goodness. Guys, here is what Joe Biden, and the only reason I have this so quickly is because we reported on this when it happened. This is what Joe Biden said right as COVID really started to take off. The right to vote is the most sacred American right there is. State election officials are working closely with public health officials to hold safe elections. If you are feeling healthy and not showing symptoms and not at risk of being exposed to COVID-19, please vote on Tuesday. And we ended up finding out that one of the poll workers died from COVID. Mr. Biden was encouraging people as the pandemic was taking off to go vote. And then he says, if you're not at risk of being exposed. How could you not be at risk of being exposed? That's why we were all locked down and staying inside, Mr. Biden. And then he said, if you're not symptomatic. And we know that the asymptomatic spread of COVID was a major concern at the time. But it's Facebook. And notice, he's not saying that Facebook is actually killing people. He's saying that regular people like me and you posting on Facebook is killing people. Of course, Alec is right, because he's right most of the time. Facebook is killing people, but his drone strikes in Syria aren't. Okay, Mr. Biden, correct. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We continue.
Could you have more unbelievably over the top inflammatory rhetoric about social media? Hey, what's your message about Facebook? They're killing people. Facebook is killing people. That's what he's saying. So now we get to do whatever we want. So now we have to censor. And let's remember, censorship is the fascism. And what is fascism really about? Fascism is about propping up late-stage capitalism. That's what this is. That's.
I haven't gotten to that part in Das Kapital yet. I'm trudging through Das Kapital. I've already read it. I'm reading through it again because the language is extremely dense, and I'm really trying to follow the homie, trying to figure out what he's actually saying. So I'm gonna have to keep reading on there. That's an interesting take, though. That basically, if you let capitalism sit, it's gonna devolve into fascism. I don't know. We'll see.
Capitalism, it always becomes fascist, and this is what's happening. Clean up on aisle dementia. Every censor throughout history in every culture has justified their censorship by claiming the suppressed information is dangerous and the censorship is for the public good. Liberals defending the Biden White House on this ground think they've invented some novel, benevolent rationale. Every dictator who keeps information, they always say, no, we have to keep the bad information out from the people. It's the info. Oh, we can't have that. They're trying to sow discord. That's just exactly what the United States is saying now. They said we needed the internet censorship because Russians. They said we need internet censorship because COVID. They said we need internet censorship because of January 6th. They said we need internet censorship because domestic extremists. Pretty sure they just want internet censorship. She's exactly right.
She's right. She's right. Here's Amr. Do you really believe he meant Facebook, the company, kills people, or did he mean Facebook allowing misinformation about COVID to spread kills people? No, Amr. I explained exactly what I meant by that. When he said Facebook is killing people, what he means is regular, normal Americans disagreeing with him kills people. That's what he's saying. He and you obviously are not that concerned about disinformation because you're okay with Hillary Clinton spreading a lie and disinformation about a presidential candidate, therefore influencing our democracy. So you don't have a problem with I promise you, I'm not trying to be sarcastic here, but you have a problem with disinformation sometimes, and sometimes you're okay with it. Um, and again, Amr, you don't have a leg to stand on. If you're talking about misinformation that leads to the death of people, I'm sorry, but then you have to call out Fauci. He told us not to wear masks. He specifically told us not to wear masks. That was disinformation. Why isn't he canceled? Why isn't he facing any accountability? And then you come on, you come on and now you're stumping for Fauci, even though we've all seen on video where he lied. So I don't understand you, Amr, to be honest with you. I don't understand you. I don't understand like what's motivating you. I don't understand what the syllogism you're using is. I don't get it. It just seems to me that anything Jimmy says, you're going to say the opposite of. And that's strange to me.
Again, do you want to see Fauci lying about masks? And of course, he wouldn't be banned from all platforms.
Here it is right here.
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
Okay. Right there. Amr, he said it right there. Right now in the United States, people shouldn't be wearing masks. That's what he said. That was a lie. We should have been wearing masks. People died over that shit, bro. What do you mean?
You're sure of it because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason.
So the guy asked him again, are you sure, bro?
To be walking around with a mask.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening closely. Yep, I'm sure of it.
Larry is 1,000% correct. That statement killed people. I believe that. And so did Biden's statement telling people to go vote. That killed people too. Amr, I have no idea what the syllogism is here, bro. I don't understand what's going on with you, man.
I want to admit that he was lying right there. He wasn't misinformed. He knew exactly what he was saying, and he knew he was lying. And he justified that lie to you. The top health guy in the country lied to you about health, so you maybe went out and got sick and died. You probably wouldn't. Maybe there's a good chance there's people who got COVID because of this lie that he told. But again, the government doesn't want you to censor their lies. You can't censor their lies. Like what Joe Biden just did. You can't censor their lies or their rhetoric or their misinformation. You know, the biggest source of misinformation is the government. And the second biggest source of misinformation is the establishment press. So,
Now look, here's Amr. Back in the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't know how contagious the virus was. We also didn't know asymptomatic people could transmit the virus, hence wearing a mask wasn't a priority. No, he did not say, Amr, he did not say, well, we don't know. He says people should not be wearing masks. He didn't say masks aren't a priority, which would be bad. What he said was people should not be walking around with masks. He was telling us something positive to do, namely, do not wear the mask. That's not the same thing as your thoughtful paragraph here, bro. Come on now. He didn't say that. He said you shouldn't be wearing a mask. Come on, Amr.
Got COVID because of this lie that he told. But again, the government doesn't want you to censor their lies. You can't censor their lies. Like what Joe Biden just did. You can't censor their lies or their rhetoric or their misinformation. You know, the biggest source of misinformation is the government. And the second biggest source of misinformation is the establishment press. So,
in Japan, when masks were in short supply, they told people how to make their own masks on TV. Correct. They didn't lie and say you should not be wearing masks. Amr, people died over this shit, bro. Like, there's got to be a line, right? Like, if you want to defend people or you want to be against Jimmy Dore, that's okay. We can play around. It's fun. But we're talking about the lives of people now. He told us on 60 Minutes, the biggest show on the planet for news, he told us as the premier corona expert, He said you shouldn't be walking around with masks. And I remember very clearly because I had an atheist science friend in another context, and he said, I'm very happy to be walking around at Walmart and seeing people not wearing masks as the scientist directed us, because he's big on, follow the science, right? So that was absolutely his intended purpose. So I can't let you get on this platform and say that stuff, because the irony of this whole thing is now you're spreading disinformation, Amr.
They censor because they care. They censor because they care, ladies and gentlemen. That's why, just same reason they want to bomb Cuba, because they care. Same reason they want to bomb Syria and Libya, because they care.
In Somalia.
The same reason they turn Iraq into a... because they care. Okay. This is fascism, late-stage capitalism. This is how it goes. Our live shows are back. August 4th, we're in Burbank. August 7th, we're in Chicago. We're going to Portland. We're going to Boston. We're going to everywhere. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for tickets.
All right, guys. Yeah, I've already read the Communist Manifesto, and I agree with about 95% of it. And then I was challenged to read Das Kapital because, that's the big one. And so I'm going through it very carefully because I want to make sure that I know, it's a pretty, say what you want about Marx. The guy was a genius. I don't think there's anybody that can contradict that. And if you do, I mean, if Marx wasn't a genius, I want to know who you think a genius is. Because this man, God almighty. You don't have to agree with everybody to recognize the greatness that God put in them. You see what I'm saying? All right, guys. Here are my... No, I did not say presidents have no responsibility, Truck. What I was talking about was the differentiation between the federal government and the state government. The president of the United States is not a king, so he doesn't get to go and issue decrees and do whatever he wants, and it's also impractical. We're not going to hold the president responsible because the governor of New York decided to take meds away from regular citizens to give to his brother. That's not Trump's fault. And we've got to get away from this bifurcated understanding of politics where we cannot criticize Biden without criticizing Trump. They both play for the same team. When Trump does something silly, we call him out on it and him alone. When Biden does something silly, we call him out on it and him alone because he's the one that's responsible for the silly actions. Okay. Okay, Truck Turner, go ahead and timestamp where I said the president has no influence. I didn't say that. What I was explaining was the dichotomy between the state and the federal government. And that's why I brought up Buck v. Bell, which to this moment you still haven't dealt with. Okay, here are my final thoughts on this situation. My initial reason for being against, any sort of, well, let me not say it that way. Let me say it this way. My initial reason for being pro Facebook and Twitter bouncing Trump was because of what happened on 1/6. Now, prior to that entire time, you guys remember there was another social media outlet which then got disbanded. I'm not even going to mention them because I don't want to give them any time. And I was tracking this outlet, and there was one guy who was very, very closely connected to Trump, like Lynn Wood, okay, who was Trump's lawyer. Lynn Wood, who was directly connected to Trump, post on this application okay, tomorrow it's time. It's time to surrender your lives and your money and your blood for freedom. This is our only shot. And then all these people under it were talking about plans for meeting up and all this craziness that they were going to do at the Capitol, et cetera, et cetera. And they were real-time posting while they were in the Capitol. As a matter of fact, if you go back and look at one of our videos on it, there was one person that said, Pelosi's calling for help for the National Guard, but it was denied. And in that video, I asked the question, how the hell does this guy know that? So as I'm looking at all this, I'm like, holy shit, these people had a complete access to information that they shouldn't have had. They're people close to Trump, and they were able to organize this insurrection attempt where people died, Americans died, via social media. And so my thought process was, okay, at some level you got to pull the trigger here on some of this stuff. And so that was one. The second thing I supported it was because of the fact that they were a private company. And so and it's really interesting because my argument was, listen, right-wingers, when my LGBT friends would go and say, hey, we're getting married, can you bake the cake? You were saying, well, that's against my personal convictions, go to another store. So my argument was, okay, well, your ideology is against Facebook's personal convictions, go to another store, build another platform then. And so to me, there was some poetic justice there. However, it's not so much the stuff that Jimmy said that was very troubling. It's what Jen Psaki said that was troubling to me. She's talking about robust standards, actioning people properly, the government suggesting who or what to deplatform. Once the government now is functioning as a consultant in regard to the limits of speech in this private company, now it's a different question. Now it's a different problem because now you're working in lockstep with the government. It's very similar to what happened with Twitter. If you're just a regular platform, if you're a bookstore, right, then you let it fly. If you're not a bookstore and you start editing people, you become a publisher. Well, that's a different story, right? So right now, I definitely, I very rarely change my mind on something because of one video. So I've got to take the time and really sit and think this through. Plus some of the arguments in the comment section here were pretty compelling to me. One of them was, this is a private utility. This is a utility. And somebody else said this is a utility. This is the public square. Somebody also said that the phone company can't disconnect your service. The phone company can't disconnect your service because they don't like what you say. I'm not sure that that's true. I'm pretty sure that they have a non-committal agreement. They can suspend your service for whatever reason. I'm not sure. But if that is true, then that to me closes the case. So right now where I'm at, let me say it this way. If I had the lesser of two evils, right? One evil being the government telling a private company, who and what can join that company. Because again, like I said, if you had a social media app that was like an LGBT friendly app, and then you had a bunch of those Westboro Baptist people who protest at funerals or whatever. They were pretty big 10 years ago, not so much anymore because the patriarch died. And inshallah, maybe he finally found some peace. But I don't think that an LGBT platform should have to allow the speech of people who are going to torment gay people. The God hates, whatever stuff. I don't think that they should be able to just be on that platform without, with a free for all. So there's got to be some kind of balance. But anytime the government, when the government starts functioning as a consultant and when the government starts making recommendations, I'm sorry, that is a violation of the first. if it was only coming from Mark Zuckerberg and the rest of those guys, you can say it's biased, you can complain about it, but that's their decision. But now the government's involved, especially if they're getting any sort of government money, which is really our money, that's a problem. So right now, what I'll say is, you guys made a very, very solid argument. The public utility argument, the fact that the government's coming in there. I'm probably going to change my mind on this. My mind has probably already been changed. It's just as a matter of course, I don't change my mind on something that off of one video. So I've got to do more and more of my own research. But Larry's making a lot of points. Millions of people rely on these social media sites just like we relied on telephone in the 70s and the 80s. They serve the same purpose, communication and information. I mean, I know people that don't have phones but use Facebook. So he's right. He's right. The U.S. government has been in bed with big tech for years. Much love to Vin. Hope tomorrow's better for every human, regardless of your beliefs. If you hate me, I still love you and want the best for you and your family. No doubt. No doubt. We got to spread love, guys. Yeah. No, I have a serious problem here. Serious problem. And I'm going to sleep on it and think about it. Guys, send me as much information as you can. Like the phone company thing. Does the phone company have the rights to just, end your subscription if they don't like what you're saying? Then the next question would be, well, how the hell would the phone company even know what you were saying? Because the context of the phone is supposed to be a private conversation, right? Whereas Facebook is by definition public. So there is some apples and oranges stuff going on there. So, but yeah, ultimately it's controlled communication. That's my problem. I don't want the government. I don't want the government having any sort of influence whatsoever in what people post. I don't want the government doing that. And especially considering how blatantly biased Twitter and Facebook are in regard to the people that they select to censor. All right. A lot of stuff for us to think about, guys. Thank you guys for your patience in trying to explain this stuff to us. I want to get Story to watch this video. I want her. I wish she's out taking the kids to swim practice right now. So once she gets back, I'll show her the video and see what she has to say. But damn, yeah, that's such a good point, Jilly. That's such a good point, Jilly, is that we're talking about China and how repressive China is, and yet we've got this situation with our government. And part of me feels like 2016, I don't think Trump is part of these people's inner circle. I think that these people have plans as to who they're going to elect, and to them, if they decide somebody's going to be elected, that should be it. And it appears to me that these folks believe that Hillary should be was next in line, and they thought that they had it in the bag, and then they lost. Their plan failed, and in my mind, I don't think their plans generally fail. And so when they did their root cause analysis, social media was the only variable. And I think that with the advent of social media and citizen journalism and things like that, the fact that a guy like Jimmy Dore in his I'm the pothead in my garage, the fact that one video from Jimmy Dore, if he goes head to head with Chris Cuomo on YouTube, Jimmy Dore is going to win times a million. And I think that the implications of that are not conducive to the domination that group of people is used to having. And I think they got together and they said, how do we get this thing back into Pandora's box? Because, for example, I am certain that without independent journalism and YouTube, that we would have been in a full-on war again in Syria, right? I'm convinced of that. And I think it's because of guys like Aaron Mate, outlets like the Gray Zone, Rania Khalek, things like that. The people who are actually willing to go out there and grind that we would have never heard of 10, 20 years ago. Now you have the Rania Khaleks of the world and the Glenn Greenwalds and then the Aaron Mates of the world, who a person like me would have. Greenwald a little bit different because it's no situation, but a person like me would have never heard of any of these people. But Jimmy then gives them a platform, and then when you hear the OPCW report and all the rest, you go, holy shit, this was all bullshit. Hell no, we shouldn't go. And then now you don't have the public sentiment that you would have had under the previous times, right? And so I think that these people are like, okay, there's no way we're going to be able to execute what we're trying to accomplish when you have a truly free media that cannot be bought off because there's a new channel popping up every day. And we're all sharing information with each other, and we're fact-checking them real time. And now I'm at the point where you're much more inclined to believe a Jimmy Dore fact-check than an MSNBC one. So it's a very interesting time we're in, and I think that these people are saying, holy shit, how do we get this back in the bag to keep the plan going? The wiser thing to do, obviously, would be to operate within the current system because there's no way it's going back inside. But I think that that's what's happening. Now, this is important. Jimmy will let you down eventually too, Vin. Well, wait a second here. I don't have a lot of faith in Jimmy Dore, the man. I'm a Christian, so I don't have faith in anybody, including myself. What I will say about Jimmy, though, is that he's been consistent. Doesn't matter what platform he's on. So whether he's on TYT, his own platform, other people's platforms, he's been consistent. And so for that, I respect Jimmy. I don't believe that Jimmy is the subtotal of all truth. He's one guy. And like I said, his main contribution to keeping us out of Syria was ensuring that the real folks like Mate and Greenwald and Rania, etc., could have a platform to tell us the truth. So that now I can make my own decision as an American. I say, okay, well, do I want to listen to Rania, who's in Lebanon, and then Mate, who just got out of the tunnel system over there in Idlib, or do I want to listen to a couple people in an air-conditioned room in Los Angeles, or do I want to listen to Chris Cuomo, right? Now, so Jimmy's role has been to platform the truth tellers, and he's done a lot of truth telling himself. So in that regard, I have hella respect for Jimmy, but as a Christian, I believe that, it's just like the One Ring, right? Anybody can be corrupted for any reason, for any time. That's why the Bible tells us to guard our heart. But, your point is well taken, Sims, that, look, he's a human being. He's got feet of clay. But whether or not you like Jimmy, he is speaking truth to power. He is being consistent, and he's not selling out. But what's happening here is, it appears to me, the elites, whatever you want to call them, I think they're panicking. They don't know how to, there's a lot of things. Like, for example, we know what the George Floyd verdict would have been without citizen journalism. So we know we'd be in Syria right now without independent journalism. So, it is what it is. So shout out to Jimmy on that. He's doing God's work, man. Holy shit. But we're in interesting time, ladies and gents. We we're in really interesting times. And I think that we got to hold the line, and free speech is very, very, very important, especially in the context we're in now. I don't care what anybody believes. I don't care what side you're on. What happened with establishment media for the last 4 years, we can never allow to happen again. What they did with the Russiagate stuff, and then what they did with Bernie in that last year, we can never let them do that again. Because it was the most, and obviously, I'll just take my word for it. That was the most coordinated psychological operation that was successful that I've ever seen in my entire life. It really was. And the only way they're able to do it, the only way they'd be able to do it successfully again, because I think the next iteration, the next time it comes around, a lot of us are going to be the wiser for it. But I think that if they can stifle successfully the social media angle, they believe they'll be able to get away with it again. And I think that's what's happening. So Bernie was, robbed is an understatement as far as what happened to Bernie. And as I said in an interview, we'll be releasing chunks of the interview. We had a pretty important interview a couple days ago. Bernie was more than robbed, because Bernie had people like me. It would have been the first time in my entire life that I would have ever voted for a Democrat, and I was energetically on the way to voting for a Democrat for the first time, and then I wake up and then there's Hillary. So saying that Bernie got robbed is the understatement of the year. I think, honestly, I feel like the entire country got robbed, because we would be in such a different situation right now. I'm not saying that we would be in paradise or anything like that. Like, I'm not silly. But we'd be in a lot different situation if not even if we would have had Bernie. It's not really about Bernie ultimately. It's if the will of the people would have been honored. That's my problem. So the Democrats said, man, fuck the will of the people. They did that to us twice. And then Trump attempted to do the same thing on 1/6. Man, fuck the will of the people. And that's the shit I cannot stand. They work for us. These officials work for us. We don't report to them. When you hear the government spending and the government's buying this and the government's buying that, the government doesn't buy shit. You do shit. I do shit. I spend money. I pay these people's salary. You pay these people's salary. And we do not pay their salary so that they can then turn around and quell our speech, so that they can be the sole misinformation and disinformation outlet for millions of people. Holy shit. So that's where I'm at with it. Private ownership is very, very important, and that's sacred. But part of me feels like Facebook has surrendered their status of being a private company once they start taking their cues from the government. Once you start taking your cues from the government, I'm not sure that you can successfully mount we're a private operation anymore. Right? I'm not sure you can successfully make that argument. Okay, guys. Whew! What a world. Love your neighbor. Take care of each other. Middle America.